Welcome to OkState Daily. Casey Porter here. So glad that you decided to tune in. Joined as I am each and every week by Scott McKinley. And Scott, hey, this time last weekend, we were a little disappointed at the 1 out of 3 against Iowa State. But just flip the calendar 1 week. Wow, how things have changed. What a weekend it was for the Cowgirls against a very good Texas Tech team. That is only going to get better, by the way, as we go on with this. Just a great week for the Cowgirls.
Yeah, I mean, you get 4 opportunities to win some ball games, and you win all 4 of them. It's hard to complain too much with that. A win's a win, right? Obviously we got the bats going for sure this weekend against Tech. Boy, I tell you, that Saturday game, I went to the Saturday game, and the Cowgirls were swinging the sticks that day.
Yeah.
So, all around, 4 wins. I'm sure we're going to get into the details, but the win against Wichita State, it was definitely a come from behind victory. Got ourselves down 5-1, really dug ourselves a hole. But we talked last week about the talent that this team has, the ability to be down 5-1 in the 5th and be able to come back and win that. That speaks to how much talent this team does have.
No doubt about that. 5-1, you mentioned it. They were down 5-1 in the 5th. They strung 5 hits and a sacrifice fly together, hung a 5 spot to take the lead. Carly Godwin led that whole thing off with a single. By the way, congratulations, Carly Godwin. Hey, we had a milestone last week with Caroline Wong taking the lead as far as single season home runs for a catcher. How about Carly Godwin passing Michaela Wark, who set the record last year for all-time home runs in a single season for a freshman? So this team keeps setting records. But hey, Carly Godwin led that 5th inning off with a single, and then Claire Tim doubled. Michaela Wark and Megan Bloodworth. Megan Bloodworth started swinging the bat a lot better lately, by the way, and she always plays great defense. They both singled. And Jillian Pillard had a sac fly, who, hey, let's start our position players with Jillian Pillard. The energy she brings, it's contagious. She also is very versatile and where she can play defensively, where you can put her in the offensive lineup. And by the way, she can hit a home run one at bat, bunt the next, right?
Yeah, in fact, to start off the Wichita State game, we talked last week about, hey, you got to do something to generate some offense. Well, Pillard puts down a beautiful bunt to start the game, and then Edwards puts down a beautiful bunt right behind her. And Caroline Wong comes up, and I mean, she absolutely smoked one up the middle, and the Wichita State player just made an absolutely phenomenal play in order to get the double play. In fact, I mentioned before we got on here, I was on the road. As soon as the game was over, I got on to ESPN, and sure enough, that play by the Wichita State second baseman, it made SportsCenter top 10.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It got to tip your cap to the girl. She made an incredible play. But no, we scored 1 that inning. We were starting to get some things going. The biggest thing that I saw in the Wichita State game is we made a number of errors. Kyra Aycock, you can tell, I think she's just struggling with confidence. She's just not throwing with confidence. And when we brought Rosenberry in, you could just see that, you could feel the difference, because Rosenberry, when she gets in the circle right now, and she also had another really good weekend against Tech as well, but when she gets in the circle right now, there's just a difference. There's a different confidence in her. She's throwing really well right now. She knows she's going to throw well. She knows she's going to hit her spots. But I think with Aycock again, I really think she's going to be a good pitcher. We just got to keep throwing her out there.
Would agree with that. How about this for a weekend? You mentioned the comeback. Well, before we get to this weekend, does it worry you a little bit being a big Oklahoma State softball fan? Obviously, we have very, very, very lofty expectations. Does it worry you that sometimes it takes this offense a little bit to get going in games?
It does. Really, when you look at it, Wichita State, I mean, their record, they're 19-19 right now. They're not. We know there's going to be more difficult competition on the horizon coming up. But at the same time, you also got to realize that you are going to get their best shot. When you're ranked number 6, 5, whatever we are in the country, whoever we're playing, they're going to play their best game against us. I think the only concern that I have is, are we doing the things that lead to success, or are we doing the things that kind of shoot ourselves in the foot? And again, we're nitpicking again, because this team is very, very good. We had a great weekend. The only thing that I saw throughout the week that kind of was a not good trend is we're making some errors in the field. I know the box score says that the only game that we had that we didn't make an error per the official box score was Saturday, but I was at that game and we dropped one in foul territory that that ball should have been caught. But luckily enough, it didn't hurt us. The girl grounded out anyways. But that the thing with the errors that I guess what I see is we were able to overcome those this week. But again, we got teams on the horizon that we know are going to be better. And the other thing is, if you play clean on defense, you're basically any runs that are scored then are always on your pitching staff, which as good as OSU's pitching staff is, I'll take those odds.
No doubt. And also, if you make errors, even if you get out of it, like you said, the Cowgirls did, you're still adding to pitch counts. And we've seen if Kyra Aycock is not going to pitch with confidence, and let's say that you're in a regional or whatever, and you go into it with basically just Ivy Rosenberry and Lexi Kilfoyle, then you need to play it clean because you need to minimize pitch counts so you can use those two as much as you possibly can.
Yeah, exactly. I was looking in the box score of the Wichita State game, and a couple of their big innings, they got started with a walk. Then we had 2 wild pitches. Then we had an error. It's never good when you walk the leadoff person. But then the error, it's always walks and errors that you point to whenever you don't play well or if you lose a game. Guaranteed 99 times out of 100, there's some walks and some errors in there that cost you that game. The other thing right now, what I'd say to the team is on defense is think routine. You never lose a game because you didn't rob one at the wall or you just couldn't make the diving catch. No, that you look back and if you get beat, it's we didn't field a routine ground ball like we should have, or we threw a wild pitch at the wrong time. Really when you think about it, good defense, in my opinion, should be boring. It should be very, very, very boring. Ground ball to second baseman, it's an out. But again, that's totally nitpicking. I mean, this weekend, the story was all about the offense. Boy, I tell you, we were swinging the bats this weekend.
Sure were. How about 30 runs, 26 hits, 5 home runs, 5 doubles, stole 8 bases. I like that aspect of the game because it keeps you balanced. You're not just relying on home runs. Whenever you steal bases, it allows you to generate runs too, because then you can bunt, then you can base hit. And this Cowgirl team, they are so good, like a girl like Lexi McDonald, Carly Godwin. You think of them as being big sluggers, but I'll bet 80 to 90% of their hits are base hits to the big part of the field. So when you're stealing bases, now your hitters can think, all I need is a base hit. I don't have to hit a home run to drive in an RBI. That makes you more consistent as an offense. 11 different hitters got a hit, scored in 11 out of 16 innings that they came to the plate, and now the Cowgirls are 39-8 and 16-5 in Big 12 play. So yeah, what a weekend!
Yeah, it was fun to watch. I tell you that home run to Godwin, the first one that she hit. Oh, I'm telling you, that first one, that was an absolute towering shot.
It was,
and it was a good setup. We had first and third. She had a 3-1 count, very favorable count for. It's almost kind of one of those deals. You can almost see it as soon as you saw the bat come off her shoulder. You knew what was about to happen. She saw the pitch she wanted and just was all over it. We swung the bats really, really well, and it's one of those things when you swing the bats that well, it will cover up some mistakes.
Yeah, it will.
That's just the way it is. But no, overall, great weekend. Tech is a dangerous team, as you said before. They're not one to be taken lightly. Wichita State they always play us close. I thought particularly on the road, being down like we were, coming back in the fifth inning like we did, and then to close it out. To me, the play of the game against Wichita State is one that probably all it is in the box score is just a put out. But basically, to set up the scenario, we had a 1-run lead. It was in the 6th, and Wichita State had first and third with 1 out. And we pulled the infield in instead of trying to play for the double play, which in my opinion was a smart move. Double plays do happen in softball, but they're not as frequent as what you would see in baseball. There's just not a whole lot of time to get one. So not to mention they also had CeCe Wong, Wichita State's best hitter, was at the plate. Well, so Rosenberry did a great job, got her to hit a ground ball to Megan Bloodworth. She looked the runner back at third and was able to get the out at first. And I mean, that was, to me, it was very heads up ball. And that play, in my opinion, is a little bit more difficult in softball than it is in baseball, because you don't have a whole lot of time.
Right.
You've got to be able to look the runner back, but then you got to go very quickly to first, because you don't have time in softball. So tip of the cap to Megan on that one. I thought that was a very, very heads up play, and it was well executed.
Ivy Rosenberry has been just simply fantastic all year long. As a matter of fact, there was a long stretch there where her and Kilfoyle were numbers 1 and 2 in the Big 12 in ERA. So this is going to kind of sound weird to say, because she has been so good all year. But I'll tell you what, as good as she's been all year, it just seems like in the last week or two, she's really even taken that next level step to me. I mean, this weekend, last 2 weekends, she's been throwing gas. You can just see the confidence. I mean, she really is handling herself like a bona fide ace.
Yeah, she was. She did an excellent job this weekend of hitting her spots, mixing in her off speed very, very well. And sometimes pitching, we always talk about hitting spots and those kind of things. Sometimes pitching is just knowing when to try to move it, get a little bit closer to the plate, and when to throw it off the plate just a little bit. Because that's one of the things I look at is a lot of her strikeouts will come at pitches that weren't actually strikes, but she did an excellent job of baiting the hitter into going after it, which that's what you want, because even if they make contact, it's not going to be that good of a hit. I think it was Nolan Ryan once that said that the idea is not to strike them out. The idea is to make them hit it, just not the pitch that they want to hit.
Yeah. Or on the part of the bat. Yeah. It's kind of an interesting dynamic, because Lexi Kilfoyle, I mean, she's just Mrs. Cool, right? I mean, like, never gets bothered, never gets flustered. Doesn't seem like her blood pressure ever raises. And then you have Ivy Rosenberry, who's not, overly animated, but she has quite a few more emotions. It seems like she rides the adrenaline a little bit more. So it is a neat dynamic, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is, and I think it's a really good 1-2 punch as we start heading down the home stretch of the season. But to your point, I totally agree. I think Rosenberry, her confidence is very high right now. Her velocity is getting up there. Yes. I haven't seen what it is on speed gun, but going to the games, you can just tell she's bringing it.
Yep, you can tell by the way the other team's swinging at it. I mean, it's getting past their barrels. Yeah,
there were a number of balls I saw this weekend. The Tech, It was a pitch that it might have been an inside pitch. You'd think it's something they're going to try to pull, but they end up having to spray it down the opposite field because they flat couldn't get the bat around.
Yeah. So Rosenberry 10 innings this weekend. And also, here's a big one. This kind of relates to maybe a conference tournament or a regional. Threw on back-to-back days and was still throwing gas on that second of the back-to-back days. And so, hey, 11 Ks, ERA 148, batting average against this year, 210, 13, and 3 on the year. So Rosenberry was simply fantastic. We mentioned it last week. It was great to get Talon Edwards back. It just makes you feel comfortable seeing her name in the lineup.
Yes. Well, she's another one of those. I love having her and Pollard at 1 and 2 spots, because at some point they're the kind of hitters that are going to get something started. They're left-handed hitter. I mean, they're going to be able to get some things going. Plus, the other thing I also like about Talon and that left, being a lefty, if we can get Pollard on first, okay, now we figure, second baseman may be shading a little bit closer to second. Right there. Well, now we get Talon in the 2-hole. Well, she can pull it and right into that gap, and all of a sudden, man, we're really in business. Yeah. Plus the ability, as we mentioned earlier, to lay down a bunt. I love that against Wichita State. That we started off with 2 bunts, and sure enough, good things happen.
Carly Godwin, we mentioned her just a minute ago. Congratulations to her. She is the single-season home run leader in the history of this storied program for a freshman. And not only just the home runs. I mean, she's a great hitter first. She's a great hitter that happens to hit home runs as well. She had hits in all 3 games. She went 5 for 8, 3 home runs, 6 RBIs. She has hits in 5 games in a row. She's hitting .340. Her OPS is 1148, and her 12 home runs we mentioned are a record for a single season for a freshman. She is just simply fantastic.
Yeah, what's funny this weekend is I was just sitting there watching the game, and I'm thinking, if I'm Texas Tech, I actually may think about walking her.
Yeah, even if the bases are loaded.
yeah. I mean, with the way she's been hitting, man, I'd think about walking her. But I think that also it speaks to the other bats that we've got in the lineup, because everybody was getting in on the hit parade, particularly on Saturday. And on Friday as well. We really were hitting the ball well. You can't walk her because we've got somebody coming behind her that can hit as well.
Yeah, how about the big home run from Megan Bloodworth, who, by the way, if you follow Cowgirl softball at all, those plays she makes at shortstop, especially you go back like to the Baylor series, that you mentioned it. There's not a whole lot of time to them. You can't fumble the ball. You can't double clutch. You can't do any of that. And she has made one pressure-packed play after the other and been pretty much just spot on with all of them. So no doubt about it, she's in the lineup for her defense. Even if she doesn't get any hits, she's totally valuable to this team, right? So her offense could be seen maybe as a bonus, but how about the huge home run that she hit that I have no idea why the Cowgirls had to use a replay on that. I mean, it hit the foul pole. I mean, that was as obvious as it could be. She was on base 5 times, and she scored 3 runs. When Megan Bloodworth is playing offense like that, this is going to be a Cowgirl team that's going to have a good weekend.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing, like, she's our 9-hole. We always talk about turning the lineup over. And I mean, if nothing else, if she, in the Wichita State game, another example, she hit a ball that, okay, it was more of a swinging bunt, but at the same time, you put the ball in play, good things happen. Well, sure enough, Wichita State makes an overthrow at first, and we score 2 runs out of it. I mean, sometimes just put the ball in play, and sometimes
absolutely
good things will happen. So no, if Megan Bloodworth can continue to produce offensively, again, that's just one more thing that you're going to need in the postseason. Any production you can get out of the bottom of that lineup is going to be a really good thing.
We talk about the dynamic type of offensive players that this Cowgirls team have, like a Jillian Pillard, like a Talon Edwards. A girl, when I say dynamic, I mean they can hit a home run, but then they can bunt for a base hit. They can use the big part of the field. They can do a little bit of everything that you need to do as an offensive player. So you're not just one-sided and another team can get a book on you and play to your weakness and get you out from that perspective. Super, super, super impressed with Claire Tim, who hit her 6th home run. I love she's done this 2 or 3 times this year. She'll hit a home run or a ringing double and then just bang one right back up the middle, about a 7-hopper for a base hit, and then beat one out for a base hit as well. So she's very dynamic. She had a good weekend.
Yeah. Again, another one that had a great weekend. I think the thing that I've always looked at on the offensive side is if you're trying to hit a home run every single swing, bad things are going to happen.
Yep.
Because you're not going to get the pitch that you're looking for every single time. You're probably not going to get a count that you're looking for every single time. So you got to be able to do that. Particularly if you've got if you've got a weakness, let's say that they know that you don't hit outside pitches very well. Well, guess what? You're going to start seeing a whole bunch of outside pitches. Well, if you can figure out a way to just slap those to get a single or put them in play or something, it's going to raise your average probably 50, 60 points by the end of it. And and again, you're helping your team, whatever it takes.
Another girl that I wanted to mention before we move on to the team aspect of it, this young lady has really, because she's been good all year, but she's got a lot more playing time lately, and man, is she taking advantage of it. Young lady from Silo, Oklahoma, Lexi McDonald. She's another one of those big girls that can hit the ball to Duck Street, right? Yeah. Or McElroy, whichever direction, whether it be left field or right field. But she's a great hitter first, and she uses the big part of the field. And one thing that's so impressive about her is that she hits the ball where it's pitched. I can't tell you how difficult that is. I'm sure she spent thousands of hours doing that back home with Coach Lawless there at Silo, working on that craft. Hey, if the pitch is on the outer half, like you said, slap that thing into left field. She's a left-handed hitter. If they come in on you, pull your hands inside of it and pull the ball. She has done a great job. 2-time state champion at Silo. She hit .547 for her career in high school and had 201 RBIs. So this is a young girl that's used to producing in the middle of the lineup. She's used to being in big type of environments because Silo's always in the state championship, at least always in the state tournament. You know that as well as anybody, Scott, as much umpiring as you've done. Yep. So Lexi McDonald, super impressed with her.
Yes. She's another really good bat. Like I said, I think the biggest thing I noticed with her swing is she's got phenomenal control of her hands. Like you said, she can hit that outside pitch when needed. She can pull the ball wherever it's pitched, basically take whatever the pitcher gives you. Which that really is a skill particularly today. And this is just an opinion. I think today we've almost created swings to where, it works great if you get the right pitch.
Sure. But
the reality is not every pitch is going to be that 3-1 that they threw to Godwin. Not every pitch is going to be right there. So no, Lex McDonald, I think she's got a really bright future. Love the swing. I think she's going to be a really, really good ball player.
Well, and you know you're a good team, a great team, not a good team, a great team. We've gone this entire time in this podcast. Haven't mentioned Caroline Wong, haven't mentioned Michaela Wark really, and haven't mentioned Lexi Kilfoyle other than the fact that her and Rosenberry are both a good 1-2 dynamic, but we've focused on Rosenberry mostly in the circle for this show. So when you're talking about three of your main players like that, and if you have three players that don't have the perfect weekends or whatever, and you still sweep a really good team like Texas Tech, that tells you that you're a really good team.
Yeah, this team has got talent up and down the lineup. One of the things we did talk about is our reliance on the long ball, though. One of the things I was really pleased to see this week, starting with Wichita State game and also carried over to the weekend series, is we were scoring more runs where we get somebody in scoring position and we just knock in a single. It wasn't just it was just a home run derby. We were able to score in multiple ways.
And part of that's the 8 stolen bases because a single does score a run. So the hitter's thinking, hey, I don't need a home run. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no. And one of the things I've always said is the most important base to get to is that is getting a runner from first to second, because now all of a sudden a single we can score them. I think being aggressive on the base paths, that's always been my personal philosophy is, if we're aggressive and the other team makes a play, you tip your cap to them, but they're going to have to make the play.
Yep, and we move on now to North Texas in the midweek, and then the University of Kansas, who is 27-17 on the year. So, hey, it's going to be a fun week. Of course, last week you had Wichita State, then a good Texas Tech team. So what can we look forward to moving forward?
So I looked up. We got North Texas in the midweek. They are 28-19. They don't really have what I would say a marquee win. But one thing that did stand out to me, though, in their schedule is they swept Tulsa. So, we know how much, Tulsa has given us.
Coach Gajewski's going to be using that all week long, don't you?
Yeah, that's going to be, hey, remember. So, I think that, again, I think if you just look at talent, obviously we should have more talent than North Texas, but you still got to show up. Kansas is a very interesting team, in my opinion, because I believe they swept Baylor. They got beat by Texas this weekend, but there's a lot of teams that get beat by Texas. Texas is really good. Kansas, I think, is another one of those teams where I think they're similar to a Texas Tech. I think that they're going to be competitive. I don't think that it's going to be I wouldn't expect blowouts. You love them if you can get them as long as they're going your direction. But no, I think it's going to be another competitive series. I really do.
Yeah, one of those deals to where it's up to the Cowgirls are good enough. They're talented enough to where these series are up to them, meaning if they play the way that they're capable of playing, no matter what the other team does, they're going to win.
Right. Yeah. If OSU continues to hit the ball up and down the lineup like they have, it's going to be really, really hard to stop them. The only thing I would say this week is I really would like for us to see, let's play some clean defense.
Yep.
Because if we play clean defense, which is with as good as Rosenberry is throwing right now and Kilfoyle, we're going to be really, really tough to stop if we play the game clean.
All right, Scott, this has been a lot of fun. Super excited that we're going to do this each and every Sunday. Might start incorporating a little bit of the baseball into it as well, because I know you're a big baseball fan. You go to the baseball games, and then also as we get further along, probably get into a little bit of football as the baseball and softball winds down. But this is going to be a lot of fun each and every Sunday, so thanks for joining.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Always enjoy talking about OSU sports.
All right, fans, we want to thank you for tuning in to OKState Daily and say, go Pokes, go Cowgirls.